The wind over Talos Ridge carried dust, metal, and the sound of engines as a huge armored convoy rolled across the human frontier base. Workers stopped what they were doing. Soldiers raised their weapons. Even the officers looked uneasy. No one knew what was inside the long iron container chained to the transport platform, but everyone felt fear. Lyria stood near the supply station with a toolbox in her hand. She was only a mechanic, young and usually ignored, but even she felt a strange cold in her chest as the convoy came closer. The ground shook under the heavy wheels. Sparks flew from the giant clamps holding the container down, as if whatever was inside was too powerful for normal metal. The convoy stopped in the center of the base, and the leading officer shouted for everyone to stay back. Soldiers formed a circle around the container. Lyria stood on her toes, trying to see between their armor plates. When the doors finally opened, a wave of cold air rushed out, carrying a strange metallic smell. Inside the container lay a giant creature. A wolf, at least that was what it looked like at first. But it was larger than any human vehicle, with thick silver fur stained with dirt and dried blood. Iron chains wrapped around its legs, chest, and neck, glowing faintly with blue energy marks. Its eyes were closed, its body still. People whispered fearfully. That's a lycanth. The kind that destroyed the Titan outpost. Why bring it here? It should be dead. The officers ignored the whispers. They ordered the soldiers to check the creature's vitals. Lyria did not know much about alien biology, but she could see that the creature was not moving at all. The chains were too tight, biting into flesh. Parts of its fur were burned. It looked more hurt than dangerous. But everyone kept their weapons aimed at it, as if the creature could jump up at any second. Lyria stepped forward, slowly moving to the side of the container to get a better look. The wolf's chest rose just a little, a soft, weak breath. Lyria's heart tightened. She knew pain when she saw it. Machines broke. Living beings broke too. One of the officers shouted, "Keep civilians back," but she did not listen. Instead, she crouched near the edge of the container and studied the chains. They were not normal metal. They had small glowing symbols on them, symbols she recognized from old war manuals. "These are old binding locks," she whispered to herself. "From the ancient conflicts." The officer nearest her turned. "Mechanic, move back." She did not move. "Sir, these chains are hurting it. They were made to suppress energy. If it's alive, these locks are draining it." "It is a monster," the officer said. "It deserves no kindness." Lyria looked at the wolf's face. Its eyes were shut, but there was something tired in its expression, like someone who had fought too many battles and had nothing left. She spoke quietly. "It doesn't look like a monster." The officer narrowed his eyes. "Mechanic, return to your station." Lyria stood slowly and walked away, but her thoughts stayed with the creature. She kept glancing back, noticing every twitch of the glowing chains, every labored breath from the wolf. Hours passed. The base returned to activity, but the center area was now blocked off with security fences. Soldiers guarded the container day and night. Scientists came to scan the creature. The officers kept arguing about what to do with it. Some wanted to send it to the capital. Others wanted to keep it locked until it died. No one thought about saving it. No one except Lyria. Late at night, when the base lights dimmed and most workers returned to their quarters, Lyria stayed in her small workshop, pretending to fix a broken power unit. She kept thinking about the wolf's slow breathing. She wondered how long a creature like that could survive with energy-draining chains. Finally, she made her decision. She grabbed a small scanner, a tool used to analyze old lock signatures, and slipped out of the workshop. The guards near the container were half asleep, leaning on their rifles. A windy dust storm was rising, making it hard to see anything clearly. Lyria used the cover of the storm to slip behind one of the barriers. She moved quietly, step by step, until she reached the side of the iron container again. Inside, the wolf still lay unmoving. But now its breath was even weaker. Lyria climbed up a little and leaned close. "Hey," she whispered softly, even though she knew the creature might not hear her. "I don't know who you are. I don't know why humans fear your kind. But I can see you're in pain. And I think you've been in pain for a long time." The wolf did not move, but she felt warmth from its breath on her hand. She scanned one of the chains. The scanner beeped. The lock symbols glowed. A small message appeared on the device. Ancient seal code, active. Purpose, energy suppression. Risk level, extreme. She bit her lip. The chains did not just restrain, they drained. If left on too long, the creature would die. Lyria glanced around. The guards were still hiding from the storm. The wind howled loudly. Sand hit metal like tiny hammers. She realized it was now or never. She whispered, "I'm going to help you." With trembling hands, she pressed the override tool against the first lock. Sparks flickered. A soft click sounded. The chain loosened slightly. The wolf's body twitched, just a small movement but enough to make Lyria freeze. Then she continued. One lock after another. Each time the blue glow dimmed, the wolf's breathing grew a little stronger. The storm outside roared, covering the noise. When the final chain opened, the iron links fell away with a heavy clang. The wolf inhaled sharply, a deep breath that echoed inside the container. Lyria stepped back, heart racing. She did not know what the creature would do now that it was free. For a long moment, nothing happened. The wolf lay still, breathing deeply as if waking from a nightmare. Then, slowly, its glowing silver eyes opened. They locked onto Lyria. She did not run. She did not scream. She only whispered, "You're free now." The wolf blinked slowly, not with anger, but with recognition. And in that moment, the story of a human girl and a chained wolf began to change the future of two worlds. The wind outside Talos Ridge had grown fiercer. Dust whipped across the empty streets and scattered against the walls of the base. Lyria walked carefully, her hands gripping her tools, her eyes fixed on the massive container where the wolf still lay. She had not slept, not even eaten, because her mind kept returning to the creature's glowing eyes and the way it had breathed deeply when she freed it from the chains. She knew she could not leave it here. The soldiers and officers would never understand. To them it was just a dangerous beast. To her it was alive, and hurt, and waiting. As night fell, Lyria moved again. The storm outside made the guards careless. Most had retreated to shelters, leaving only a few slouched against the walls, tired and grumbling about the wind. She used the shadows to slip past them and approach the container. Inside, the wolf's silver fur glimmered faintly in the moonlight. Its glowing eyes followed her, calm but alert. Lyria's heart raced. She had a plan, but it was risky. The wolf had not moved since she freed it from the chains, except for breathing. She had no idea what would happen if it shifted or if it chose to attack. She whispered softly, "I'm not afraid of you. I just want to help." Her hands touched the edges of the container. She studied the chains that had once bound him. They had been removed, but the wolf's body still seemed heavy, like it carried the weight of centuries of pain. Lyria knew she needed to do something more. The creature needed space, freedom, and trust. She carefully pried open the container's doors. The metal groaned, echoing through the base. The wolf stirred slightly, lifting its head, silver eyes glinting in the dim light. Lyria froze, her heart hammering. Then the wolf shifted slightly, standing on massive legs, stretching slowly. Its muscles rippled under the silver fur, powerful and elegant. Lyria realized how enormous it was. She took a cautious step back, but the wolf did not advance. Instead, it lowered its head slightly, as if waiting for her to continue. Lyria exhaled. "You're free now," she whispered again. "I won't let anyone hurt you." She stepped fully into the container. The wolf did not flinch. Its glowing eyes followed her every move, observing, learning, trusting, or at least considering trust. Lyria's hands shook slightly as she reached out, touching the tip of its snout. The fur was warm, softer than she had imagined, but the power behind it was immense. Outside, the storm howled, drowning any sound they made. Lyria knew that this night would change everything. She whispered, "I need to take you away from here. Will you trust me?" The wolf rumbled softly, low and deep, a sound that vibrated through the container. Lyria interpreted it as agreement. Carefully, she guided the wolf out of the container and toward the back of the base, where the storm provided cover. Every step was tense. One wrong movement and the soldiers might notice. As they moved, she noticed small details. The wolf's eyes scanned everything, studying the buildings, the guards, the edges of the base. It moved with intelligence, not instinct. Lyria realized this was no ordinary creature. It was aware, strategic, and aware of its strength. She had not simply freed an animal. She had freed a being of legend. At the back gate, the wolf paused. Its ears twitched, and it looked up at Lyria as if asking what came next. She smiled softly. "The desert," she said. "We can hide there until it's safe." The wolf lowered its head slightly and then, without a sound, it leapt over the fence. Lyria followed carefully. Her heart pounded in her chest as she ran alongside the creature, amazed at its speed. The ground beneath her shook slightly with each step it took. The wind whipped against her face, but she did not care. She had never felt more alive. They reached the edge of the desert outside the base. The wolf paused again, sniffing the air, listening to the distant hum of the base's machinery. Lyria crouched beside it, feeling the heat of its body. "We're safe for now," she whispered. "But we need to keep moving." The wolf shifted again, standing fully upright, muscles tense, eyes scanning the horizon. Lyria watched as it stretched, powerful and majestic. Then, without warning, it let out a low, throaty growl, not threatening but commanding. She realized that it was testing her, making sure she was brave enough, steady enough to be near it. She met its gaze. "I'm not afraid," she said softly. "I won't leave you. I'll help you." For the first time the wolf moved closer. Its massive head lowered until it touched her shoulder lightly. Lyria gasped, feeling the immense weight, the power, and the warmth of it. She whispered again, "You can trust me. I'm not like the others." The storm raged around them, but inside the desert, they were alone. Lyria studied the wolf. Its silver fur shone in the moonlight, its eyes reflected intelligence and history, and its body moved with strength she had never imagined. She realized that this was more than a beast. This was a king, a leader, a being whose story had been stolen by chains and fear. "I'll help you reclaim your freedom," she whispered. "And no one will ever take it from you again." The wolf lowered its massive body slightly, almost bowing. Lyria reached out and touched its side. The muscles rippled under her hands. She felt a bond forming, silent but real. She realized something important. The wolf had chosen to trust her. She had freed him, but he had also accepted her. They stayed like that for hours, the storm raging around them, until the wind calmed and the first light of dawn appeared over the desert horizon. Lyria looked up at the wolf. "We need to move before anyone notices," she said. The wolf shifted again, powerful and graceful, and followed her lead. Together they disappeared into the desert, leaving Talos Ridge behind. Lyria knew that she had not just freed a wolf from chains. She had freed a king. And in that moment she understood that their story had only just begun. No one at Talos Ridge knew that a human girl had walked into a storm and freed the Alpha King of the Lycanth, a being of strength, intelligence, and ancient power. But that would change soon. The galaxy would feel the impact of what they had done together, and Lyria knew that she and the wolf were no longer bound by fear, chains, or expectation. They were free. And together they were unstoppable. The desert was quiet except for the soft whistle of wind over the dunes. Lyria walked beside the massive wolf, her hand brushing against its silver fur. Every step she took, she could feel the weight of the creature's power beside her. It moved gracefully, its eyes scanning the horizon, alert and intelligent. She realized this was no ordinary wolf. This was something far greater. As the sun began to rise, casting golden light across the sand, the wolf stopped abruptly. Its body tensed, ears pointed forward, and the ground beneath its paws seemed to hum with energy. Lyria froze, her heart pounding. She had seen power before, but this was ancient, almost unbearable in its magnitude. The wolf's eyes glowed brighter than ever, silver light reflecting the dawn. Then, slowly it began to change. Its massive body stretched upward, muscles rippling, bones reshaping. Lyria stumbled back, shielding her face as fur receded and skin became smoother. She could hear the sound of shifting bones and hear the low rumble of its voice somewhere deep inside, a sound not yet words but full of command. When the transformation ended, standing before her was no longer a wolf. It was a humanoid being, taller than any human she had ever seen, with silver hair cascading down its shoulders, wolf-like markings on its skin, and eyes still glowing with the same silver intensity. The desert seemed to vibrate with his presence. Lyria's mouth went dry. "I am Arnox," the being said, his voice deep and commanding, yet calm like a mountain speaking. "Alpha King of the Lycanth's sovereignty." Lyria took a careful step forward. You're the wolf?" she asked softly, still not sure whether to feel awe or fear. Arnox inclined his head slightly. "I was bound. I was betrayed. I slept because my enemies wanted me silenced. You have freed me, human. You have awakened the Alpha King." Lyria swallowed hard. I didn't know what would happen. I couldn't let them hurt you." Arnox studied her closely. His gaze was intense, piercing, and full of a strange curiosity. Few humans act with courage or understanding. "You are different. You are worthy." The desert wind blew around them, but it seemed softer now, as if the air itself recognized the moment. Lyria could feel the energy radiating from Arnox. It was not dangerous, it was commanding. The Alpha King did not need to prove strength, it radiated naturally. "Why me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm just a mechanic. I'm nothing like you. You are brave, compassionate, and clever." "That is enough," Arnox said. His gaze softened just slightly. The chains were strong but the heart stronger. You released me not just from iron but from waiting. You awakened me when no one else could. Lyria stepped closer, her small hands brushing against his armored markings. But, if you are the Alpha King, why were you chained? Why would your own people betray you? Aranox's eyes darkened, shadows passing over the silver glow. Power is feared. I was a threat to those who wished to dominate even among my own kind. They bound me to control the galaxy's perception, to silence the one who could challenge their lies. Lyria's heart sank. She realized that this being, this powerful king, had suffered betrayal even from his own people. I won't betray you, she whispered. I promise. You can trust me. The Alpha King's eyes softened. He lowered his head until it was near her shoulder. Lyria felt the warmth of his body, the pulse of his power. It was overwhelming yet comforting. For centuries he had waited, and now he had someone to share his trust with. Arnox stepped back slightly, testing his new form. He flexed his long muscular arms, and a soft hum of energy rippled through the air. The desert sand lifted, swirling gently around them. Lyria watched, awestruck, realizing that this being could command the elements with sheer presence. You are more than I imagined, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. I didn't think I'd ever meet someone like you. I am more than they wanted the galaxy to see, Arnox said quietly. I was hidden, restrained, forgotten. But now, I am free. And you are beside me. Lyria realized something important. The Alpha King had chosen her. Not as a servant, not as a follower, but as a companion. Her courage, her willingness to act when others feared, had earned her this place beside him. Where do we go now? She asked. If your people betrayed you and the soldiers want you back, we can't stay here. Arnox looked to the horizon, eyes narrowing. We go to reclaim what is mine. To expose those who bound me. And to show the galaxy that humans are stronger than legends say. You will come with me, human? Lyria's stomach flipped with both fear and excitement. I will. He extended a hand taller than her entire body, and she took it without hesitation. The touch was firm, commanding yet full of respect. A bond was formed at that moment, not of fear or obedience but of trust and understanding. As they began walking away from the base, the first rays of sun glinted off his silver hair and markings, making him appear like a living myth. Soldiers from the base started to notice the empty container and ran to investigate, but they froze when they saw the Alpha King stride across the desert, a human girl beside him. Arnox turned his head slightly, silver eyes meeting hers. Do not fear them. They are small against us. Lyria nodded, feeling a new kind of strength in her chest. She realized that she was no longer just a mechanic. She had awakened a king, and now together they would face whatever came next. The desert stretched endlessly before them, full of dangers, mysteries, and challenges. But Lyria no longer felt small. She walked beside the Alpha King, feeling the pulse of his power, the weight of his presence, and the quiet promise that they would face the galaxy together. Arnox looked at her once more. The galaxy has underestimated humans, he said. And it will do so no more. Especially when one of them stands beside the Alpha King. Lyria smiled, feeling the wind in her hair, the sun on her face, and the incredible truth of the moment. She had freed a wolf. She had awakened an Alpha King. And together they would change everything. The desert was silent again, but the silence was no longer empty. It was full of possibilities, a beginning and a promise of power, courage, and an unbreakable bond. Lyria and Arnox, human and lycanth, had stepped into a story that would echo across stars, and the galaxy would never forget the night the Alpha King awakened. The desert stretched endlessly, glowing under the afternoon sun. Lyria walked beside Arnox, the Alpha King, feeling the weight of his presence with every step. The wind carried the scent of sand and metal, but beneath it, there was another smell, the faint residue of chains, power, and betrayal. Lyria had freed him, awakened him, but now she wanted answers. Tell me, she said, her voice calm but firm. Why were you chained? Who would do this to a king? Aranox's silver eyes darkened. He walked slowly, his massive form casting long shadows over the sand. The council of my people, he said finally. The lycanth sovereignty is older than you can imagine. We are proud, strong, and divided. Some feared my vision, my desire to unite our worlds peacefully. They saw me as a threat to their control. Lyria's eyes widened. Your own council betrayed you? Yes, Arnox said. His voice was low but heavy like the weight of centuries. They used humans and other species as pawns. I was captured, bound in chains not only to restrain my body but to suppress my power. They wanted the galaxy to believe I was dead, that the Alpha King could no longer lead or protect. Lyria's fists clenched. And they succeeded, until now. They did not count on your courage, Arnox said, glancing at her. I was waiting, not for battle, not for revenge, but for someone who could break the chains with trust, not force. You freed me not only from iron but from centuries of waiting. She swallowed hard. So, the chains, they weren't just physical? No, he replied. They were designed to drain my essence, my strength, my mind. Any who tried to touch me without knowledge would fail, and many humans did try. That is why most of them feared me. That is why no one approached. Lyria studied his glowing silver eyes. So all this time they made people fear you and you couldn't explain yourself? Arnox nodded slowly. Yes. My people wanted control. They wanted the story told their way. If I spoke I would expose them. That is why I had to remain silent, hidden. And yet, they underestimated the human spirit. You, Lyria, reminded me that courage and empathy can break any chain. She shook her head. I never thought of myself as brave. You acted with bravery without knowing it, he said softly. The chains held me but your heart held the key. They walked in silence for a moment, the desert around them empty except for the shifting sands. Then Lyria asked, what do we do now? If they captured you once they could try again. Aranox's expression hardened. We reclaim the truth. The council believes they silenced me but their lies will be exposed. And you will help, human. You have seen the chains. You understand how they work. Your knowledge, your courage, your perspective, they are part of what will restore balance. Lyria nodded. She had not expected this. She had freed a wolf and now he was speaking of wars, empires and councils. Yet she felt ready. I will help, she said firmly. Whatever it takes. Aranox's gaze softened. You must understand something. Humans are underestimated across the galaxy. Many think your kind is weak but you are not. You have the ability to act when others hesitate. That is why I have chosen you, not as a servant or follower, but as a partner. Her heart pounded. A partner? Yes, he said, his eyes meeting hers with intensity. You freed me when no one else could. You saw not a monster but a being bound by injustice. That choice matters more than you realize. The chains may have been strong but your courage was stronger. Lyria felt a shiver run down her spine. She had acted out of compassion, not thinking of power or titles, yet that simple choice had changed everything. I never thought I could do something like that, she whispered. You did, Arnox said. And now the galaxy will see what humans and Lycanth can achieve together. The desert shifted under their feet as they walked toward a hidden canyon. Arnox paused, lifting his hand. Energy rippled from his body, forming a faint glow around his markings. The chains were not the only weapon, he said. There are those who will come for me thinking they can capture, control, or destroy. You must be ready. You are now part of my strength. Lyria studied him, feeling both fear and determination. I will be ready, she said. I've seen what happens when they underestimate humans. And I won't let them hurt you or anyone else. Arnox nodded, and the air seemed to hum with power around him. Then we move, he said. First we must find the council traitors. Then we reclaim what is rightfully mine. And you will see how far the human spirit can reach. They entered the canyon, shadows stretching long in the setting sun. Lyria noticed strange symbols etched into the rocks. Old warnings, old signs of power, remnants of battles long before humans had walked these lands. Arnox touched one of the markings with his hand, and it glowed faintly. These places remember, he said. They remember chains, betrayal and kings. And they will remember today as the day the Alpha King awoke. Lyria followed closely, feeling the weight of history, the tension of power, and the thrill of a mission that had begun in a desert storm. She realized now that freeing the wolf had done more than awaken a king. It had started a war for truth, justice, and trust across the galaxy. Why me? She asked softly again. Why trust me with this? Arnox glanced at her, his silver eyes steady. Because you see beyond fear. You see truth. Many would see only the chains, only the power, only the danger. You saw the being inside. That is why you were chosen. That is why you are part of this. The canyon grew darker as the sun set, but the glow from Aranox's body illuminated their path. Lyria felt a courage she had not known she possessed. She had freed a king, and now she was walking beside him, ready to face enemies, challenges, and betrayals. Do you think they will try to stop us? She asked. They will try, Arnox said calmly. But they underestimate the bond between a human and a lycanth. And they will learn, as all the galaxy will learn, that courage and trust are stronger than chains. Lyria smiled, feeling the truth of his words in her chest. For the first time she felt part of something greater. She was not alone. She had awakened a king, and together, they would reclaim what had been taken, expose the lies, and begin a new path for two species long divided. The night settled over the canyon. Stars appeared one by one, bright against the dark sky. Lyria and Arnox rested briefly, knowing the journey ahead would be dangerous, but feeling unshakable strength in each other's presence. The chains were gone, the truth awaited, and the galaxy would never be the same. Arnox looked at her once more. Prepare yourself, human. We move at dawn. The council believes I am dead, but they will soon know the truth. And you will stand beside me as we show the galaxy the power of trust, courage, and unity. Lyria nodded, gripping her tools and her courage. She had freed a wolf, awakened a king, and now she was part of a mission that would change everything. Together, human and Alpha King, they would face the traitors, the enemies, and the future. The chains had fallen and a new era had begun. The desert dawn painted the canyon in gold and red. Lyria adjusted her tools and walked beside Arnox, the Alpha King. The air was thick with anticipation. Today they would confront the council who had betrayed him, the ones who had chained him for centuries. Lyria could feel the weight of history in each step, but she did not feel fear. With Arnox by her side she felt unstoppable. They emerged from the canyon, moving through the rocky terrain toward the hidden stronghold of the Lycanth Council. Soldiers and guards patrolled the outer walls, but the Alpha King did not hesitate. With a simple motion, Arnox raised his hand, and energy pulsed from his body, rippling across the ground. Rocks shifted, dust swirled, and the guards froze in awe and fear. "Stay behind me," Arnox said softly to Lyria. "Do not interfere unless I call you. Your courage is your strength, but my presence is enough to command attention." Lyria nodded, her heart racing. She had freed him, awakened him, and now she was part of the mission to reclaim his rightful place. Her hands shook slightly, but determination filled her. She knew this was bigger than them, bigger than revenge. This was about justice and a future where humans and Lycanth could stand together. They entered the council chamber without a sound. The Lycanth Council sat in a semicircle, their expressions confident at first. They believed the Alpha King was gone forever. When Arnox stepped into the chamber, the energy in the air shifted. The council members froze, their eyes widening as the glow of silver light from his body filled the room. "You," one of them hissed, standing to challenge him. "We thought you were dead." "How?" "I am alive," Arnox said calmly, his voice echoing. "And you will answer for your betrayal." The council members whispered among themselves, fear creeping into their faces. They had controlled the story of the galaxy for centuries, spreading lies about the Alpha King's death, about humans being weak, about the impossibility of unity between species. But now the truth stood before them, powerful, commanding, and real. Lyria stepped forward, standing beside Arnox. Her heart pounded, but she did not falter. "You betrayed him," she said, her voice steady. "You chained him, silenced him, and used humans and other species to cover your fear. The truth ends today." The room went silent. The council members did not expect a human to speak with such authority, and they did not expect to face a Lycanth so fully awakened. The Alpha King's eyes glowed brighter. "I was bound by your chains," Arnox said, his gaze piercing each member, "but freed by courage and trust. You underestimated humans and you underestimated me." A tremor ran through the chamber as Arnox stepped closer. The council members tried to stand their ground, but the power emanating from him made even the strongest tremble. Lyria realized they were not just afraid of his strength, they were afraid of the truth, the reality they had tried to hide. Arnox lifted his head. "You took centuries from me, but I am not here for revenge. I am here for balance, for justice, and for the future. And today the galaxy will see the strength of unity." Lyria felt a surge of pride. She had freed him, but now she saw the full scope of what that freedom meant. They were not just claiming his throne, they were claiming a future where humans and Lycanth could stand together, side by side. The council members whispered, powerless. Arnox's presence filled the room, commanding loyalty and attention, even from those who had once sought to betray him. He turned to Lyria and she met his gaze. "It is time," he said softly. Together they approached the council. Lyria held her head high, unafraid. She realized that the fear humans had faced across the galaxy, fear of Lycanth, of their strength, of legends, was ending. And she was part of that ending. The Alpha King spoke again, voice echoing like a drum across the chamber. You will restore what you stole. You will admit the truth to every world you deceived. And you will never again use fear to control the galaxy. One by one, the council members bowed slightly, their arrogance shattered. Lyria saw the moment clearly. The Alpha King was not only reclaiming his place, he was redefining power. Strength was no longer just muscle or magic. It was trust, courage, and unity. Arnox turned to her. You have done more than free me from chains, he said. You have shown the galaxy what humans can be. You have changed everything, Lyria. She shook her head in disbelief. I just did what was right. No, he said firmly. You did what no one else could. You acted when others feared. That is the difference. That is why you are beside me now. Together we shape the future. The Alpha King raised his hand, and a wave of light spread through the chamber, sealing the truth into the minds of all who watched. The galaxy would remember this day. They would remember a human who freed a Lycanth Alpha King and stood beside him as they reclaimed justice. Lyria looked around at the council members. They were silent, fearful, aware that a new era had begun. She realized then that this was only the start. There would be challenges, enemies, and those who doubted human strength. But with Arnox beside her, she felt ready for anything. The council stepped aside, acknowledging their defeat. Arnox moved to the center of the chamber, his body glowing, commanding respect and loyalty. From today, he said, we will build a future where humans and Lycanths stand together, where trust replaces fear, and where unity is stronger than chains or lies. Lyria's heart swelled. She had freed a king, awakened a legend, and now she stood at the beginning of a new era. She realized that humans had been underestimated, not because they were weak, but because no one had understood courage, compassion, and determination. Arnox turned to her, eyes glowing with silver light. The galaxy has seen what we can do, he said. And it will never forget. You are my partner, human. Not a servant. Not a follower. A partner. Tears filled her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say nothing, he said, a soft rumble in his voice. Let our actions speak. Together we will show the galaxy that fear and lies cannot stand against trust and courage. Outside, the sun rose higher, illuminating the council chamber, the city, and the distant worlds beyond. Lyria and Arnox stepped forward together, leaving the past behind. The chains were gone, the lies were exposed, and the future belonged to two worlds united by choice, courage, and partnership. As they left the chamber, soldiers and citizens alike watched. Whispers spread quickly. The Alpha King had returned. A human girl had freed him. And together they were unstoppable. Lyria looked up at Arnox, feeling both awe and determination. So, this is our future? She asked. Yes, he said. Two worlds, one bond, endless possibilities. And it begins now. The Alpha King and the human girl walked side by side, the desert stretching endlessly before them. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt hope. Not fear, not control, but hope. Lyria understood that their journey would not be easy, but with courage, trust, and partnership, nothing could stop them. The stars above blinked in approval. A new era had begun. A human and a Lycanth Alpha King would shape the future together, proving that even the smallest, bravest actions could change the destiny of entire worlds. The chains were broken. The truth was known. And the galaxy would never be the same.